Hello everybody, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we are returning to Grand Tactician, the Civil War, our Confederate Let's Play of this strategic and tactical American Civil War game. It is April of 1862, the campaigning season just started, and we were just defeated at Manassas by an enemy force which outnumbered us, what was it, like 2-1? It was pretty damn close. We had 2 corps of the Army of Northern Virginia engage against 3 federal armies or corps. I'm not sure which it was, but it was a defeat, and it was a major defeat. So you can see here it was 52,000 Union soldiers under Major General Patterson against 27,000 soldiers under Major General Johnston. I guess he gets credit for the command, despite the fact that Beauregard was, I think, there. The Federals won a victory against us despite losing considerably more men than we did. They lost 10,600 casualties, just shy of 1/5 of their force, but we lost 6,400 casualties, which was well over 1/5 of our force. The morale of our troops broke mainly because Robert E. Lee's corps, which was the first corps on the battlefield, was overwhelmed, and we had too many brigades in Lee's corps break, so that by the time Johnston's corps came up, they were not able to arrive in time. Lee's corps took the brunt of the fighting and dished out quite a bit of punishment on the Yanks, but at the end of the day, too much of our army routed, and so we were defeated in a major battle. The real standout of that battle was Thomas Stonewall Jackson's command. He inflicted considerable losses on the enemy. His troops lost like over 1/3 of their total strength, and so they fought with tenacity, holding the entire flank of the army against 5 or 6 enemy brigades and routing multiple enemy brigades. It was a very Stonewallian moment, if you will, for lack of a better phrase, that I just made up right now. But it was not, it was not to be, and we were defeated. You can see Jackson's stats are just off the chart right now. Fame, initiative, leadership. I'm kind of getting the sense that we should promote him to Brigadier General. I know he's still just a brigade commander, and it looks like all of our brigade commanders are just colonels at the moment. Typically later in the game, actually, some of the newer units are brigadier generals. But I'm thinking Jackson deserves a promotion when a division command opens up. Now, we did have one commander who was killed in the battle, Colonel Commodus Wilcox. His brigade fought pretty fiercely as well, and they lost pretty heavy casualties also. But that was our first KIA of any of our officers here. So if we actually go to the officer tab and we can filter officers by, I believe, wounded or KIA or anything like that. So if we just filter by wounded or KIA, we can see here that we've got Richard Ewell. Richard Ewell was killed? Oh, shit. Well, man, he died early in this war. Well, shit. I guess there's no Gettysburg controversy with Ewell. He's a pretty competent commander to lose early in the war, and then we also lost Commodus Wilcox. They must have both been killed in that battle, I think. Let's see, led his men in the Battle of Manassas Junction on April 11th. Yeah, so that was, I guess it's not even April 11th yet. It's the 10th still. But he was killed. So suffering 754 casualties and inflicting 594. That's interesting. I didn't know you got those statistics. So we take a look at Wilcox's boys. What does it say for his troops? Doesn't give a kill figure. Does it for Jackson? We could perhaps see that. So fought in the Battle of Manassas Junction, suffering 1,148 casualties, inflicting 2,302 on the Federals. So again, Thomas Stonewall Jackson's force, that's 1/5 of the entire casualty count for the Federals. Granted, he lost about 1/6 of the Confederate losses, but pretty damn good work for him. We're going to have to go ahead and replace Wilcox. We're also going to go ahead and have to replace Richard Ewell, which I guess I just said that Jackson was probably worth being promoted. So if we do the promotion option here, that will cause him to lose some of his stats if you promote sort of prematurely. But I think by all means, he fought incredibly well. So we'll go ahead and do that. And he's now Brigadier General Thomas Jackson. We're going to go ahead and replace him as the brigade commander here with, I don't even know who we should replace him with. Go with suitable rank. It's like captains or suitable. I guess those are the highest ranking folks. I don't want to filter by cavalry or artillery or anything like that. We filter by infantry. Does it help at all? Richard Garnett. I thought we already had another Richard Garnett. Doesn't look like we have anybody above the rank of captain to assign to a command here. Actually, I wonder if... So if Jackson's commanding this, what about somebody... Is there anybody who's above a captain at the artilleries? Or in the artillery? Major General Gideon Pillow. Well, he's a division commander. Louis Armistead. We can give Armistead the command. So let's go ahead and put a captain of artillery or a lieutenant of artillery in command of this battle. Or this battalion. We'll give Alexander Stewart command of the unit. And then we will give Jackson's unit here. Not going to filter by artillery anymore. So where are you, Armistead? Wait, why is he not selectable? But why? Do I have to promote him? Yeah, he's still not selectable. I'm not quite sure I understand that. Does it still consider him assigned, maybe? Not sure. In any event, I guess we'll pick someone else. So... who should we pick? Ransom? Ransom was a pretty effective commander, wasn't he? I mean, ideally, this is a good brigade. Little seems, despite the fact that he's like completely unknown and has no fame, seems the most balanced at 2 across the board. Doesn't seem like there's a lot of really good options remaining. Reynolds is a little bit better. He's cunning, decent initiative, leadership, administration. Not very famous, but those 2 stars of experience I think are worthwhile. Did he command anything? He hasn't done anything yet in this war, so we'll go ahead and assign Reynolds to command Jackson's old brigade, and then we're going to go ahead and put Jackson in command of Ewell's division. And so Jackson is moving up the charts here with damn good stats across the board. Better than Longstreet, despite the fact that Longstreet's fought longer and more effectively throughout the war. All right, now we need to replace Cadamus Wilcox with someone. I'm not as picky with this, I guess. John Jones, George Stewart. I guess we'll go with Captain Lewis Little. Unless any of these guys with... Actually, Franklin Gardner is probably better. And so is Captain George James. I'll go with him. All right. So I believe those are all the commanders who need to have their roles filled. We'll just double check through here. Max Sigrig. Man, that continued marching sounds a little annoying. We'll take a look at this situation in a sec, guys. I'm just scrolling through here, making sure we didn't miss anyone. God, I can't believe Ewell died. Guess it makes sense. That division bore the brunt of that federal assault. Okay. Why is he still lieutenant colonel again? His stats are damn good, despite the fact that he hasn't really fought terribly well. Yeah, Charcoal, I'll talk about it. I'd like to do a podcast episode on this game based on where it's at currently versus... We did an interview with the developer a while back, but I don't think we ever like dedicated an episode to it since it's had a lot of changes. All right, with that being said, these two corps are going to pull back probably toward Fredericksburg. where I assume Beauregard will go. I would even consider replacing Beauregard. He's incredibly famous, but you can see his leadership, his initiative, all these stats are going down. I mean, he didn't even get to the battlefield all that quickly in the last fight. I'm not sure I have a corps commander who would make sense to replace him. I mean, we could give Jackson the job just based on the stats, but probably would be overreaching his what has been warranted so far. Cooper's pretty damn famous as a division commander. Longstreet, likewise. Take a look at the corps commanders. Johnson is not doing very well. He's also defamed after that last battle where he was apparently considered in command. Magruder definitely doesn't have the fame that would warrant kicking him up the ladder. Lee has only fought in this one battle. His fame went up from the last, I guess, battle. But in terms of his initiative, it didn't do very well, I guess. And the leadership is down a little bit as well. So I guess there's not really anyone who makes sense, in my opinion, to replace Beauregard with at this time. So we'll leave him in command. What is the assessment of the war? I would say, I mean, if we take a look here, the Federals have started fielding more men. They're up to 152,000 men, so we need to raise more troops. We're sitting at about 78,000. We've won 7 battles. They've won 3. The 2 battles that they've actually won that we fought, there was one like simulated battle where they outnumbered us like 10-1, which I don't really think counts. But in terms of the 2 major battles they've won, we've lost fewer men in both of those battles, but they just overwhelmed us and drove us back. And so I think the thing that hurts in this game is that while we have won the majority of the battles, the major victories which have gone toward them go a long way toward negating minor victories for us. A major victory has a much bigger impact on morale, national support, those things. So you can see their national support's still 96%. The morale of their armies is actually a little bit better than ours. Their national morale is not as strong, but you know, that's all. Those are all things we got to consider. That's despite the fact that we've inflicted better than 2 to 3 casualties on them. So we've lost 21,000 men. They've lost 36,000. That's a problem. We've got to figure out how to, you know, get those casualty results to actually influence the game. The other thing also is our financial situation isn't the best. Our credit rating's down to A. I'm probably being overly cautious with how we actually handle spending, which can be a problem because you can only raise troops until I think you get to a B- credit rating, and you start at AAA, so already down two tiers down to A. But the flip side of that is if I go all in and raise as many troops as possible, 1, I probably won't have enough weapons. 2, the reality is we'll burn through what money we have. I mean, we've only got 12 million in reserve. We've already got 160 million in debt. We've already got a negative 340 million, deficit for this year. That's what we're on track for. So it's kind of balancing things to keep our credit rating in decent shape. We are working on a railroad. We started that in the last stream. So we actually have a railroad, which is 3% of the way complete. It is Jackson to Selma. You can see these green lines here. So sort of from like central Mississippi into Alabama along this line. It'll actually link up with a lot of it. You can see these rail lines here faintly in these dark black lines. So most of our lines are north-south. There's a few east-west lines. There's one major east-west line up in Virginia that runs all the way down to, I want to say, Chattanooga here, but it runs through the Cumberland Gap and parts of Tennessee. Or actually, this isn't the one I'm thinking, but it runs through eastern Tennessee. So like if the enemy ever threatens eastern Tennessee, they could easily cut this rail line. We don't have a lot of other east-west lines that are in great shape. When Longstreet relocated his army to Chickamauga historically in 1863, they couldn't use this rail line east-west because Knoxville was in Union hands, and it was a major problem for the Confederate economy and for the Confederate war effort. So constructing this east-west line does make some sense for defending the Deep South as well, makes things a little bit more efficient, but it's going to take about a year for that construction to be completed. Once it is completed, we will also see tax revenues increase by about, $3 million from where they're at right now in this section of rail. So it'll be a pretty nice help there. I've not checked my Credit Karma score. Additionally, we are working on getting more policies unlocked. So right now we could increase trade deals, which would help trade. We could use some political funding to do that. I don't know that I need to suppress the population or anything like that. I don't think they're up in arms against us yet. I think I also unlocked parrot guns, I think. So we probably need to build some rifle artillery. But I'm saving up to try and unlock British rifles, which we're pretty close to. And then also perhaps some other reforms here for guns or ships or whatever to try and help, like maybe some logistic support. I'm not really sure. But in any event, we haven't done parrot rifles, so that's what I'm saving up for. But yeah, we've also really invested heavily in farm mechanization. We've gone up 2 levels there, invested 1 in infrastructure reform, 1 in market reforms, 1 in cotton is king, 2 in administrative reforms, which helps with policy development speed, railroad construction, which helps with railroad construction speed. I'd probably do that again to help the railroad we're building. 1 for diplomacy, for sending envoys. I think we're going to hold off on the economy funding here until we have enough to do improved credit rating, which is going to be a while. But that'll obviously help, especially if we need to keep raising troops and things like that. But yeah, we've also done 4 levels of trade deals to try and get the economy churning. Actually, if we go back to the military section here, let's see what we're building right now in our weapons sections. We're building, I want to say 2,000 Sharps rifles. They're complex rifles. There's no standardization there, so they take a really goddamn long time. 33 more days till we get 2,000 of these Sharps carbines for our cavalry. And then I believe it'll help us build them more efficiently in the future. But our cavalry is woefully armed at the moment. We're also working on, we've imported 50,000 Lorenz rifles from Austria. We're down to about 18,000 in stocks. We've got 43,000 Fayetteville rifle muskets in stock, and 40,000 smoothbore Springfields. My artillery sucks right now. I don't see the need to spend any money on upgrading any of that stuff. I am considering, if the Federals don't start moving in the West, I am considering an invasion of Kentucky. Hey, Brendley, thanks for the raid. Welcome, welcome, everybody. We're playing Grand Tactician, the Civil War. I don't know what you were playing, Brendley, if you were playing the same thing or something else, but I appreciate you bringing folks on over. I'm debating raising more troops in Tennessee because I would like to invade Kentucky. At this rate, the Union hasn't done anything in the West outside of drives from Missouri. So it seems likely to me that an invasion of Kentucky would be a good idea. I have reformed the Army of Tennessee into 2 wings. There's about 43,000 troops in the Army right now. We've got a left wing based out of Memphis and a right wing based out of Nashville. I'm tempted to add a new division here. What do we have? The right wing has... Do we really have 3 divisions on the right wing? Bragg, Withers, and Cock? And then the left wing only has 2 divisions? There are also only 2 brigades for each division. Granted, we do have 2 brigades that are being raised in Chase's division. So let's go ahead and add a 3rd to Cock's division. Shunt, thanks for the follow. Brendley, were you playing this or were you playing something else? Thanks for the raid again if you didn't hear me earlier. Let's do some Tennessee soldiers so they're like coming right online right away. Infantry, 36 months. We've got that 3-year option. I wish there was a way to pick the weapon before you raise the troops. Let's do the Fayetteville. It's better than the Lorenz. God, these guys are going to take for frickin' ever. Why are these guys taking 60 days to be raised? They're Tennessee soldiers. What's the goddamn holdup? And then let's also add a division to Zolkoffer's corps. So we'll have 3 divisions in each wing. I'm going to do this. Shift the artillery and then shift them back. Just because I like symmetry in my OOBs. Right? We need a different... I don't know who Traper is. Why does it show me KIA people? Breckinridge is MIA? I didn't even know we had any commanders who were MIA. Let's actually do this. Is there anybody worth promoting at the brigade level. Walker or Winder? Let's go with Walker. Unless we want to promote Pemberton, but I don't think he's worth it. Okay, so let's promote Walker. We'll put Scurry in command, a major. He'll be promoted to colonel. And then we will put Walker to the division command. And then we're going to go ahead and shift one of each of these, one brigade from each of the other divisions here. So it'll be 3 brigades in each division. And we'll raise one new division here, or one new brigade. And what's the closest thing to Tennessee? Mississippi, probably. So we'll do a brigade of 2,200 soldiers, Mississippi soldiers here under Little's command, it looks like. I don't generally interfere too much at the brigade level when I'm raising a new unit. And then we will give them the Fayetteville. All right, so we'll have 3 divisions in Zolkoffer's Corps. Also want to add a 3rd artillery battery to each of the artillery divisions. So we've got 1 battery per division. Tennessee soldiers, that'll be the fastest, and artillery takes longer to raise. So we'll go ahead and raise a battery of each. And I don't want field guns. We'll do 12-pound howitzers. And each of these will be Tennessee boys because they're the fastest to be raised. Claiborne, is that Patrick Claiborne? Major Claiborne. I don't know why you're commanding artillery. Let's not have you command artillery. Evans, I'd also rather have you eventually command infantry. We're not searching by infantry, right? Dorsipenda. I don't know who you are, but we'll give this lieutenant command. And we'll replace the 6-pound guns with 12-pound howitzers. So there you go. We'll have 12 and 12, 12, 11, 11, 8. So we have 3 batteries of artillery in each corps now. And we do have a cavalry division in each. So we actually have Buford's cavalry is with Chase. So let's go ahead and have Imboden's cavalry division join Zolkoffer. So there you go. We've got Imboden has 3 cavalry brigades. So we'll go ahead and add 1 more cavalry brigade to Buford's. South Carolina cavalry. Oh shit. That is not what I meant to do. God damn it. $18.25, $12.50. We'll do 1,800. All right. Joseph Walker's. And I don't think I have any other weapons, so we just got to keep the mixeds. Okay, so we now have a much more cohesive Army of the Tennessee. 50,000 strong as well, once all of these troops get raised, which will still take a little bit of time. 30 days for the cavalry, 36 for the artillery, and then some of the infantry won't be online for like 2 more months, which I don't know why those guys are taking so long. Ah. Well, thanks for the raid. All right, so the Army of Tennessee, I think, will be ready for... By the way, what do those trade things do? Like, how does it tell me anything about them? This trading route is an important infrastructure point. Does it tell me anything about blockade? The lack of means of transport affects transport capacity by 8%. So do we not have enough shipping? I don't know that I can do anything to improve that. Spectre, thanks for the follow. All right, so the intent is going to be to drive both these corps deep into Kentucky. We may have both converge on the Army of Illinois and Mississippi on the left flank here, and then have one wing move toward the interior of Kentucky. I'm not sure yet, but we'll see what makes sense. We will wait a little bit here. I'm also not entirely sure what to expect in terms of the soldiers getting sent home, because our one-year soldiers are going to begin to have their enlistments run out, and I'm not sure how the game has been updated to handle that. But we're just going to start moving time, because we've got these 2 corps in Virginia that are going to fall back, and I need to see what's going to happen there. I feel like we've seen that article multiple times with regards to can you guys fall back? Like, why are you not retreating, 3rd Corps? Pause. We're going to fight a battle. I'm going to have the Army of the Susquehanna, which does outnumber Magruder, engaged by Magruder's Corps to protect our flank before we eventually fall back to join the rest of the army. First and 3rd Corps are pulling back. The Federals don't look like they're in any hurry to pursue us. They did lose incredibly heavy casualties, so they may not actually be in shape to pursue us. Looks like our withdrawal has completed. All right. The Army of the Susquehanna's 17,000 men are going to face off against the 11,000 men of the 2nd Corps of the Army of Northern Virginia. Actually, I think this is on the same day or the day after the Battle of Manassas. The Army of... This is now... Oh, sorry. All right, well, let's jump in and see what this battle has in store for us. Yeah, the rifled musket, I think the interesting thing with the rifled musket, and I talked a little bit about this on the last stream, and I plugged my buddy's company because he makes authentic ammo and cartridges for these era of weapons. When you get to rifled muskets, prior to the 1840s-ish weapons, and really the 1850s, you had 2 types of weapons that infantry could carry. You had rifles and you had smoothbores. Smoothbores were really easy to load. You had an undersized ball that would go down a barrel that was much larger. There was no rifling, and so there was a lot of windage in the barrel because the balls were too small. And so gases and other things like that could pass on either side of the ball. The ball could kind of bounce down the barrel, didn't have any spin. It was just like trying to throw a football without a spiral. Or like a knuckleball, basically, like when you're shooting out there. So very short range. The reason the ball was undersized was because black powder doesn't burn cleanly, or at least black powder back then didn't burn cleanly. So you had a lot of residue and buildup in the barrel over time. So you could only fire, if the ball was just the right size, you could only fire a couple of shots before you wouldn't be able to put a ball down the barrel anymore and it wouldn't shoot. And so you had an undersized ball to get around the fouling concerns, at least to a point, but it wasn't accurate. You had rifles, which were not very common, which the rifling, and the way that worked was you had rifles in the barrel, and I'll get to the game in a second here, but you had rifling in the barrel, which would impart a spin on the projectile as it comes down the barrel, which would stabilize the projectile. And so if you think of a modern ball or modern bullet, you think of a football, that spiral stabilizes it and allows it to be much more accurate. The problem is, in order to impart a spin on the projectile as it moves down the barrel, the projectile has to touch the rifling, or be engaging the rifling. Well, you try and put a ball down the barrel that's exactly the right size. To do that, you either have a ball or bullet that is too small and doesn't engage the rifling, and therefore why have the rifling? Or you have a bullet that's just the right size, but one can be very difficult to get to go down the barrel. Like I think the Jaegers had to actually hammer the ball down. And it can be very difficult and time consuming to load that. And so you have a challenge where if the projectile's too small, it can't engage the rifling. If it's the right size, it engages the rifling, but you very quickly are not able to shoot anymore once a couple of shots are fired, because the fouling inside the barrel causes the bullet to no longer fit, because the barrel is getting narrower as stuff builds up in the barrel. The British got around this a little bit by using patches. So they would have a ball that they'd put like a leather patch. I don't know if it's a leather, but like a cloth patch around. And then that sort of acted as getting a little bit bigger for the bullet and would allow it to engage with the rifling. I think also there's an element of it's a little bit more flexible in terms of sizing. So like if the barrel's fouling, it's easier to push a leather piece down than a lead ball. But it was still very slow to load and all of that. So there's very few rifles in the Napoleonic era outside of like the British 95th Rifles, for example, which have, and still have a much lower rate of fire. And so most commanders thought, well, it's not really worth it. The rifled musket, that terminology indicates it is still a musket. It is the mainstay of the military. It uses rifling, but essentially that's what starts coming of age. That terminology starts coming of age with the French Minié ball, which actually the British developed something very similar to it prior to it, but the British military was not so forward thinking as to fund it. But they actually had invented a Minié ball type weapon prior to the Minié ball. They just didn't equip it. But the French Minié ball, what that basically was a undersized bullet-like looking projectile, so not a ball. But the way it worked was when the weapon fired, the corners of the bullet would expand. So you had an undersized ball that could be put down the barrel and loaded quickly. When the bullet was fired, the soft lead would expand into the rifling and engage the rifling. And then also, like later on, the British with their Lee Enfield cartridge also included things like plugs, which would help clear the barrel of fouling as well. So like every so many shots, you'd actually have a plug with the bullet going down the barrel that would kind of push out the gunk and the what do you call it? The residue that built up. Yeah, they didn't really call them sabots, Alan, but similar concept. They didn't have fins or other things that pull out like that, but also generally sabots, at least in the case of like tank sabots, are using smoothbore barrels, which was not the case. They were using rifled barrels, and although I guess there's tank sabots and rifles, like in the M60, but whatever. I believe the hex rifling was the Whitworth Lake. In any event, that's enough rambling. So our scouts report the enemy is near Winchester, Virginia. Our army is prepared for battle. We're facing the army of the Susquehanna under George Cadwalader, who we fought like 3 times already. 18,000 men, 36,000 guns. Somehow they're still green. Okay. What's the objective here? We're on the defensive? Okay. Buffalo Lick is the defensive position. Magruder, you're going to get your chance to be a hero. If I can find where you are. There you are. And so we fought on this map multiple times, but we haven't fought on the southern edge here. Not really sure where I'd even want to fight. I don't see a lot of good defensive positions around here. There's some fences over here on the left. Some fences on the north. The enemy outnumbers us. I guess it's good that we're on the defensive. Might as well just attack them. I'm considering it. Put Hill up here. What time is it? It's 7 in the morning, so we're in the morning of the battle. These look like heights, so maybe some elevation here to fire our cannons off of. Thank you for the follows, guys. So these guys have terrible line of sight. Buffalo Lick. So they're probably going to come down this road here. Buff Lick Road. That would be my guess. They're going to come on the map probably over here near this blue icon. So they will probably move down this road through Milltown and then move either on the southern road and around or move down this road and branch off toward Buff Lick. So they will probably move toward Buff Lick Road. That one battery has a good line of sight. Problem is, like, none of these maps give me good artillery lines of sight. How do they not see? Like, is that really what you can see? I don't even know. All right. This artillery actually makes sense here. That battery there. Then maybe we'll just put these guys on the flank here. All right. So move Slack. He's got to be within command radius to issue some of the special orders, apparently. We'll have one brigade in reserve. So this is a little bit of a gamble because if they move south of Buff Lick, then I'm going to get myself flanked. I do have some engineering points I can use, so we're going to do that. These guys are already behind fences, so they have some entrenchments. I'm going to go ahead and build breastworks. I want you guys like on the damn fence line. There we go. Always build breastworks. That's my strategy, and I'm sticking to it. We'll set all these soldiers to engage at long range. Does burn through ammo more quickly, but I don't think the enemy will last long enough to not. And is there a long range option here? No. For the artillery? Hill's division also engage at long range. I don't really know about this positioning. We'll see. The right flank division is probably too far out there, but we can always turn on the enemy if they come down the road. Hey, Delta. Good to see you. All right, so we're going to fast forward through here and see where the Federals show up. If they do flank me and move down toward the objective, then we'll just turn around and come across with nice tree cover toward the objective, and they'll be in the open down here. But I think it's most likely they'll come down Buff Lick Road. My artillery here probably looks inviting for them, too. It's a little bit in the open here. But it's just so hard to get... Even this is terrible line of sight. Probably wouldn't be a terrible idea to send skirmishers out. At least for Hill's division. We get the skirmishers out and then they can better protect the artillery. Yep, Mac. That is true. Entrenchments, yes. Breastworks were pretty common before 1864. All right, the Federals are coming down the road here with their cavalry. We can see Hayes's cavalry brigade. I think what you would be an accurate thing to say would be that before 1864, why is this guy's field division so poor? You would build up, not out. Well, that's the idea. You're building up to the breast level. You fire over the top. All right, so we fired our artillery at the enemy cavalry that's leading the way down this road. I was right that they're coming down this road. But now they're turning back. Or at least pulling out of my artillery range. Okay, so we'll fast forward here until we see more. Are they going to flank me? It looks like they're going to try. Let's bring Huger's brigade down here to extend and refuse our left. Okay. So the Federal cavalry's formed up down there. We've seen more of it now. Multiple enemy cavalry units. Let's bring Greg down here to the left as well. Let's have Frost send out his skirmishers. Lee's going to form up on the left here also, so we're just going to kind of shift our line here a bit. Trying to use this terrain, these woods here, to guard our troops, while also making it not as easy to get to the objective. We've got 3 Federal cavalry units here. Are they all the first? First. We've got 3 first cavalry brigades, about 6,000 cavalry? Can that intel be right? Is a third of their entire force cavalry? Because that would be nuts if true. Looks like Harney's moving back north. Okay. Where's their infantry? That's the question. Oh boy. Wait. Change of plans. Greg, extend your line over here. Here, halt. I'll let them flank me pretty damn easy if I don't reconsider that. Artillery's engaging. The enemy infantry's coming up. 3 brigades. What are they shooting at? Oh. Alright, our skirmishers and Garnett's force are engaging some enemy cavalry. A lot of repositioning going on here. Cavalry's going to charge my skirmishers and probably drive them off. Oh, no, they're going to dismount and just fight them. These detachments still heading south. So 2,400 enemy cavalry is skirmishing with about 400 infantry. Can we move our guns up to fire into their flank? It'd be nice to enfilade their position here with some 24-pounders. Granted, I don't know that a howitzer really has much of a bowling ball effect to go with it. Lee's brigade is still going to extend the line through that wood line. Let's also bring Pendleton's skirmishers forward to fire into the flank of this cavalry. Hello, let us fight to these bastards. When can I add perks to the units? It depends on their experience levels. Actually, it looks like Lawton's brigade does have that ability. give skirmisher the skirmisher perk. Police Brigade doesn't. Pendleton doesn't. Neither does Maxie Gregg. First Cav has lost about 100 men. Now that's the nice thing, is because the enemy's engaging me in line of battle and my skirmishers are in obviously loose formation, we're losing less despite being outnumbered heavily by the number of weapons firing at us. I don't know if they don't have a rate of fire advantage. I'm not sure what their weaponry is. We're going to bring another 200 men, these guys onto their flank. Right, can you guys fire now? Fire into their flank. Well, they broke the first of the skirmisher units. I don't know why my artillery keeps going from like, oh, they're in range to, oh, they're not. Alright, the enemy cavalry is pulling back. I think they got within range of the 3rd Virginia here behind their breastworks. I guess the terrain isn't working. We're at like the bottom of a hill. Keep coming forward and then getting pushed back slightly. So we've got, I'd call this a skirmish so far more than like a full-blown battle. Just fighting with one enemy brigade. They're pulling back, but they're not routed. I believe they're pulling back because they know being in the direct line of fire of infantry is a bad idea. Although it looks like actually they're breaking now. Turning red. So we did break one of their brigades. Okay. Good for us. The Federal's going to try and overlap us with these units that are coming up, or what are they going to do? Who's in range? Oh, the 1st Brigade's coming down. They're coming toward Benjamin Huger's troops. I don't think they've got rifles because they haven't started firing, and instead they're closing the range. Let's bring Lawton's skirmishers over to flank him. We'll bring Stephen Lee's skirmishers over also. Did they duck underneath a bend or something? No, just were reloading. Another volley into the 1st. They're wavering. These 3 other brigades look like they're advancing toward us right now. They're trying to close for a melee? Garnett, go charge these fuckers. You outnumber them like 2 to 1. Oh, nope, never mind. They're retreating. Don't do that. Would have been cool to cause the enemy to surrender, but usually they don't do that so much once you already break them. Also, why are you still charging, guys? No, don't do that. Don't do that. Alright, Lawton's detachment should slow the 1st Cavalry down. Or not. Alright, boys, fall back. I actually traded some messages with the, well, it's less janky than it looks charcoal. There's an automatic delay, so I order the brigade forward, but then if I want to countermand those orders, a courier has to come from their chain of command, so from Frost Division Command. to the 3rd Virginia. So that's why it's delayed. Yeah, the bugle range represents their ability to command and control. So everything inside this little squiggly circle is within Frost's command radius. Right, they drove Lawton skirmishers back. Now, apparently, one interesting... Why are these guys... Could you just move rather than die? I'm confused why they're turning their back to the enemy. Okay, yes, this is jank for sure. One of the interesting things, I traded some messages with the developer, and apparently one of the things that the way the game works is when a unit is engaged with the enemy, they will not move. They will not move back. Like, their priority is always to, not that they won't move, I'm phrasing that poorly. Their priority is always to fight the enemy. So if they are firing at the enemy, you can't just like tell them to turn around and walk. They will continue to engage the enemy. So you kind of, what you have to do is you have to use those commands like charge, withdraw, fall back, or retreat, fall back, advance, or charge. And so fall back will have you fall back while still engaging the enemy. And then retreat will just have you disengage and run, basically, or fall back at best possible speed. You can only do those particular commands, however, when you are within range of your general, your headquarter commander. So if you're not in range of your general, then what happens is you just can't do those orders, which makes command very flugey, if you will. But that's also, at least if you care about this stuff, historically realistic. Right, Magruder, get up there. We had that one brigade break because I charged them out of their breastworks and then they got hit in the open. Right. These guys, we need iron discipline, I think. Hold until the last. The last what? Exercise in rhetoric. Alright, these guys are pulling back, probably because they saw Lee's brigade, maybe? Not sure. Alright, the enemy's losing more men than us, but not dramatically so. My artillery more effective. Alright, so we routed the 1st Brigade here. It's less bugle commands and more couriers. You send a rider from every order to the, although I guess the bugle is the command radius, but that's not like the range of a bugle. It's command. It's just a representation of the command radius. You're outflanked. That's gotta hurt. Alright, so much for having entrenchments. Everybody shift right. And don't use artillery, because who cares? I wonder if I can fire over my lines more accurately. With, howitzers. In theory, howitzers fire on a trajectory, right? I know in theory you're shooting at these guys, but I'd rather you fire at these guys who are on your flank. It'd be nice if there was a wheel command kind of is, but kind of isn't. We're engaging the 1st Brigade in the open. The 2nd and 1st North Carolinas. Colonel Pendleton and Max Gregg. Gregg is a veteran officer now. It says idle, but I'm pretty sure I just saw cannon fire. Yep, 1st Brigade should be routing. Heavy losses on them. We strengthened our left flank. Looks like the direct threat to Huger's flank is gone. 1st Brigade has lost almost 1/5 of its force. Now more than 1/5, I think. And now it's routed. Alright, well, things were a little dicey for a bit, but I think they've turned in our favor. Yeah, we've inflicted considerably more on them than they on us. Yeah, you can't have mixed batteries so much in this game, mech. The enemy is retreating. We got 35 minutes to pursue. Can we destroy this battery of artillery? That would be nice. I don't have any real cavalry to pursue. Speed things up. Charge the artillery. Get them, boys. Got them. Throw them off. And then destroy the, or damage the 2nd Brigade. Let's go engage those batteries of artillery. Some of them are going to retreat before we get there. 1st battery we should get here. Okay. We destroyed or captured 20 of the 35 enemy guns. We inflicted 100 out of 6,000 cavalry casualties, 1,900 out of 11,000 infantry casualties. We lost 1,200 infantry of our own and 1 gun. 1,200 casualties to 2,800. And Cadwallader's army is defeated yet again. Equipment capture does occur, and you can use guns that are abandoned on the field. So yes, in short, like, yes. It was bad performance in battle. Colonel Garnett has fallen into disgrace in the eyes of his men. Really? Okay. So let's take a look here at the result. Battle of Winchester. The enemy suffered 2,800 casualties, 362 killed, 600 captured. Our casualties were 1,248, 186 killed, 189 missing. We captured 1,500 rifles and we captured 14 guns. Whew. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for today's episode of Grand Tactician, the Civil War. I hope you guys are continuing to enjoy this series as we kind of see the ebb and flow of battle occur throughout the campaign. Until next time, though, this is the Historical Gamer saying once again, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, I'm out.